Hey, dreamers, welcome back to your Dream Coach podcast. I'm Shayla Wey. I'm a small business coach, growth strategist, and believer that your dream life starts the moment you lead like you mean it. This podcast is all about leadership, fulfillment, and growth, the three pillars that I believe build not only a successful business, but a meaningful life. And today's episode is one I've been looking forward to because it really captures the essence of everything I teach, everything I've lived, and everything I believe in as a coach. And the idea here is dreaming bigger, leading braver, and living more fulfilled. Now, this isn't just a motivational tagline, it's a roadmap for how to show up in life and business with purpose, courage, and a lot more joy. And so, if you're listening right now, I want you to know you are more capable than you think. And before we dive in, just a quick reminder, if you haven't yet joined the LFG Business Academy on School, it's completely free. Inside, you will find resources to help you lead like a CEO, grow sustainably, and build a business that truly fulfills you. You can also check out my mini leadership series, a free video training on how to elevate your mindset, your systems, and your results. And so let's get into today's conversation. I want to start with dreaming bigger. What I found over the years of coaching hundreds of different leaders and entrepreneurs is that most people don't actually fail because they dream too big. They fail because they dream too small. And I don't even like to use the word fail because I don't really believe that you can fail. But what I really want to emphasize is that they settle. And what happens is I've seen time and time again is that people stop believing that the extraordinary is possible for them. And when I talk about dreaming bigger, I don't just mean setting higher income goals or scaling your business faster. I mean genuinely expanding your vision of what's possible for your life. I mean, think back to when you were a child and you were 5 or 6 or 7, and someone asked you, what is it you want to be when you grow up? And you probably responded with an astronaut or a unicorn, all the different fun things. And somewhere along the lines, as we pivot into building our business and becoming adults and growing and scaling the organizations that we lead, we can sometimes lose sight of that. And what I love doing is tapping back into what's possible for your life. Because the bigger that you allow yourself to dream, the more meaning and fuel that you create for your actions. When your vision pulls you forward, you no longer have to rely solely on discipline. You're moved by purpose. And so the reason number one is big dreams give direction. So without a dream, I believe that your effort doesn't really have a compass. You end up working hard, but feeling unfulfilled because there's no deeper why. And so big dreams bring clarity and they connect your effort to your meaning. And there's a phrase I've used for decades where I would always say to clients, and I still to this day will say, when you know in life what it is that you want and you know why you want it, the how becomes the vehicle, which is your business. And so oftentimes when we get reminded and we have to take a step back to think about, well, what is it outside of the business that excites us? Maybe it is a certain trip you want to go on. Maybe it's donating to a different charity. Maybe it's creating a legacy, right? It doesn't matter what your dreams are because they're your dreams. But at different stages of your business and your career, your dreams are going to bring that clarity and they're going to connect you to the meaning as to why you do what you do. And big dreams demand growth. And every time I know personally that I've stretched for something that scared me, whether it's expanding my business, starting a new business, leading a team, even just launching this podcast, I've grown into a stronger, more capable version of myself. And so your dream isn't just about achieving something. It's about becoming someone. And big dreams create ripple effects. When you allow yourself to think bigger, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And that's leadership at its best, being the example of what is possible. So if your dream feels too big, that's a good sign. It's not meant to feel comfortable. It's meant to stretch you, excite you, and really be the fuel that we need every day to get us up in the morning, to get us, doing our best as we lead teams and we grow our businesses that are going to impact many people. The second thing I want to dive into is leading braver. And I want to talk about, what does that even mean to lead braver? Well, one of the biggest things I've learned as a coach and entrepreneur is that leadership isn't about titles or positions. It's about courage. Courage to make those hard decisions. And I've talked about this in other podcast episodes where I really think of management as managing things and leadership as leading people. And when we take it even deeper into courage, courage is the ability to make those hard calls, those hard decisions. It's the courage to have uncomfortable conversations, the courage to keep showing up even when the path isn't clear. And brave leadership means leading yourself first. So before you can lead others effectively, you have to lead you. And that often means managing your mindset, setting boundaries, and holding yourself accountable to the vision that you created. So leadership isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. And it's about helping the person who does what they say they're going to do, and about being that person. Because in order to help others, we have to be that person first. And so brave leaders choose purpose over popularity. And what I found is that real leadership often requires you to make decisions that others won't understand in the moment. And maybe that is turning down a client that's not aligned for you. Maybe it's changing direction in your business, or just standing really firm on those values. But leadership means choosing what's right and not what's easy. And so when you do that consistently, people may not always agree with you, but they'll always respect you. And brave leadership is about the impact you're making, not just about the image. And the best leaders that I know, that I've learned from, don't lead for recognition. They lead to create really good change. And they show up fully even when no one's watching. And that's one of the biggest keys to success, is that we are clear on our goals, our dreams, and we have that discipline to show up no matter what. And these leaders, they do the inner work. They do the work on their mindset, the discipline, the emotional regulation, so that they can lead from strength, not ego. And that's what it means to really lead braver, leading at that next level. And the third key part of this podcast today episode is living with fulfillment, living more full. And I really want to dive into this last piece about living fuller, because I'll be honest, I've lived both sides of this. I've lived the version of success that looks great on paper, but leaves you empty inside. And I've lived the version where success feels spacious, purposeful, and alive. And when I'm talking to clients, I see this all the time, where they look on paper like the numbers are together, that it looks like there's that fulfillment, but life feels empty. They're not getting out to nature. They're not spending the time with people that are important to them. I've also talked to people where things feel very spacious and they feel alive. I love when I hear from clients that things feel alive. They feel like an alignment, because living fuller is about designing a life that feels as good as it looks. It's where fulfillment, one of my biggest core pillars of my coaching, comes in, is because living fuller means defining success on your own terms. I used to think personally that success was about achievements or how much money you made. And I was talking to a client earlier today who got on that comparison game of her not being as far along as she thought she was going to be, or where other people were. And I said, but that's actually not success to you, because your success is this. That's what we talked about, is you running your own race. And she's like, you're right. Thank you for reminding me. And I think it's so important that if we're not clear on the definition of success, that we get clear on that, because success is going to look different for every single person. And I know that I used to believe that it was about those things that I shared, about achievements or the next promotion. And now what I believe is about alignment. It's about doing work that reflects who you are, not just what you do. And so living fuller means asking yourself, does my life reflect my values? I will say to coaching clients all the time, especially around time management, is, does your schedule reflect what's important to you? I should be able to log on your Google Calendar right now and know that everything in your life is important to you. If you have a significant other, are there weekly date nights? If you have children, are there quality times with them? If you work out, you want to value your health. Are there times where you're working out? Are there times for friends? Is that personal growth, right? And it seems overwhelming at first to schedule everything, but at the end of the day, our schedule is a reflection of our life. And does our life reflect the values? If we say certain things are important to us, they should be in our schedule. And does your business align with your purpose? What is the purpose of the work you're doing? There's a lot of people that I've worked with that make a lot of money financially, but it doesn't align with their purpose. And so there's lots of ways we can make an income. There's lots of ways we can design a life, but is it in alignment? Does it align with why you're here in this moment and what you are supposed to be doing at this chapter of your life? And then are you creating space to actually enjoy what you're building? You get to the end of your lifeline, and a lot of times people will look back and say, man, I wish I would have blank. And so I just encourage you to pause and think, are you actually enjoying what you're building? Does it feel in alignment? And I've done other episodes where we talk about seasons and grinding. And I'm definitely a believer that we have to grind to build successful businesses for sure. But we also need to be mindful that we need to take those times to reconnect with what are we building and why. And then it should feel a lot more exciting and alignment as we're building this out. And living fuller means creating margin, not just momentum. So as entrepreneurs, we're wired for progress, but progress without any rest can lead to burnout. And this is a common thing I've seen in lots of clients where they go, 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 go. We don't create space. I've had clients say, oh, I don't need holidays. I don't need vacation. I don't need time off. And I've challenged them time and time again to say, hey, it's totally your schedule, your life, your business. I get that. However, what I've seen happen is that when we don't create space to pause, we lead in burnout. And time again, those clients will come to me and say, you're right, I should have taken the time. So just being mindful of that is that even though we love what we do, it's exciting, there's growth, is that we do need to have rest in our space to prevent that burnout from happening and for us to stay reignited. And I've also learned that white space on your calendar isn't wasted time. I struggled with this years ago. And now this is one of the biggest things I'll encourage my clients to put into their calendars is just empty space. Because that is the time that we can use for recovery, for, picking up on things that maybe we didn't get to. It is also where creativity refills. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So living fuller means refilling that cup daily. So where in your calendar we have time to pause, come up for air, and actually be creative in working on the business and giving ourselves those breaks throughout the week to get caught up on things that sometimes just overflow and we don't always get to. And living fuller expands your capacity for more joy and impact. The more present and fulfilled you are, the more energy you bring to your business, your relationships, and your leadership. So fulfillment fuels performance. And so when you feel good, you do better. And the ripple effect touches everything you lead. So when we start to integrate dreaming, leading, living, here's the truth, is you really can't separate these three things. You can't dream big, but lead small. You can't lead bravely if you're not living fully. And you can't live fully if you're disconnected from your dreams. So these three, dreaming bigger, lead braver, and live fuller, create a feedback loop. The more you dream, the more courage you build. The more courage you show, the more fulfillment you create. And the more fulfilled you become, the bigger you dream again. So that's the rhythm of leadership, fulfillment, and growth. It's the heartbeat of everything I teach and everything that I live by. And so how can this change everything? Well, when you start to live by this philosophy, you stop chasing balance and you start living in rhythm. And an analogy that I learned not long ago was instead of being so caught up in a work-life balance, being more focused on balancing. Because every time we're a little out of sync, or in that rhythm, is that we're growing in one way. So if work is a little bit more heavy in one season, then, we're going to grow in more of our personal life. And if our personal life's a little bit more heavy, then we grow in our work life, right? And we're constantly in that rhythm because it's who we are, right? It's our identity and they really weave together. So stop trying to prove yourself and focus more on expressing yourself. Stop looking for just that next strategy and start to trust your own power. That is where there is real freedom. That's what that freedom is. And that's why I believe every business owner, every dreamer needs to come back to these three anchors. Because when you dream bigger, you expand what's possible. And when you lead braver, you expand more of who you are. And when you live fuller, you expand how much joy and fulfillment you can experience. And that's growth. That is leadership. And that's fulfillment. So if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to invite you to join me inside the LFG Business Academy on School. It's completely free, and it's where I share the exact tools and resources to help you lead with confidence, build sustainably, and find fulfillment in the process. Plus, you'll get my mini leadership series. It's a 6-part video training that walks you through the mindset, the systems, and the leadership skills that will take you from stuck to scaling with ease. The link is in the show notes, so come join us and start building a business that reflects the way you want to live. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's ready to dream a little bigger, lead a little braver, and live a lot fuller. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and come hang out with me on Instagram at Shayla Wey Coaching. I'd love to hear what you're working on. And remember, because your dream life starts with the way you lead, the way you live, and the way you grow. I'll see you next time on your Dream Coach podcast.